So this is a reshoot of how to drill the holes to accept the diagonal braces that go from here to here. I accidentally erased the video I made of me drilling them. But basically what you do is you remove all the spokes to get them out of your way. And you sight your hole on the underside here. I can feel it with my finger, the punch I made with the awl. And then you stick your point in the location you've made with your awl down here, and you line it up. I know that the axis of the drill passes through right here, so I line it up with my eye and then drill the hole. You drill it all the way through till it comes out the back, and you need to do that because it follows with our technique of drilling this hole here, which I'll show in the next segment. So to get our hole accurately drilled on the underside for our diagonal brace, you use these extensions to pass it through the hole, thereby lining it up properly. And with our spade bit, we stick it into our pilot hole, which I've used an awl to press into it, and then attach our drill down here and drill the hole. I would recommend finding a single, these are smaller ones linked together. If you can find a longer one, I would recommend buying it because it's got some play to it, you know, just from all those connectors. But this will do in a pinch for me. And as a hexagonal female end, that's why we're using a spade bit, because that's the only thing that'll fit in there. So you pass it through the top, and attach your drill. Okay. I piloted the hole into which I stick the point end of it. Now I start drilling. Repeat for the other side. So here we have to mark it for length because there's a little bit of trim on the spoke. In a minute I'm going to be taking everything apart for final preparations before I glue it up. But before I do that, I felt like I needed to put some witness marks on the tenons of the braces. And the reason for that is that when we glue it up, I used to draw everything together on the lower part of it all at once. If you count them, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mortise and tenon connections that I was drawing together simultaneously. And it's a little too stressful. And there's some things that can go wrong. If something gets stuck, that glue dries very quickly. So this time around I'm going to go half at a time. Plus we're going to be wedging our tenons, and that makes for strength and stability, but it takes time as you're assembling it. Also adds to the stress when you're doing a glue up. So yeah, I have these done. Each tenon is labeled according to the leg that it is paired with. What remains is the last bit of carving for the seat and some sanding. Okay, we start off using a belt sander. We just want to remove the scalloping that the draw knife made when we were rounding off the edges here. Then we switch to the random orbit sander. And finally a little hand sanding. We use a Japanese Dozuki saw to cut the split in the tenon that'll accept a wedge when we mount them. Okay, after all this time, we're finally ready to play a grown-up game of Tinker Toys and do the final assembly. A few notes. We're going to put the back spindles in first, and the reason for that is that we're driving wedges in the ends of our tenons, and if you see where they line up, once the leg's in place, it's very hard to swing a hammer in there to drive your wedge. So I'm going to do the back spindle first, then I'll mount the legs. So I've pre-made my wedges to stick in the end of the tenons. These are made out of hard maple, and the reason for that is that the light wood will contrast with the dark wood and kind of celebrate the fact that we wedged our ends. I made them out of walnut for the last chair, and the effect just vanished once I put the finish on, and I'd like the world to see that I took the time to do this. So you size them to fit the hole exactly. I've made 2 chairs before. The first one, I found that when I glued it, the glue would splatter and get on there, and you couldn't always see where it was, and you'd put the finish on and you'd see these light colored blobs where you missed sanding the glue off, and it was a tremendous pain. These chairs have a lot of nooks and crannies, and it took forever to clean all the glue off. So for the second one, I put the finish on first, or at least first couple coats of finish on, figuring that the glue would not stick to it. And it worked. The problem is now it's winter. I don't like to do any finish work in the winter because this is a wood heated barn. It's always dusty in here. I don't have a clean room, and I just tend to do my finish work in the warm months. So what I'm going to do this time is just I have a bucket filled with water and a rag nearby, and I'm going to really try to clean my glued joints off really well as I do them, and that'll hopefully take care of that problem when I put the finish on next summer. One last thing before we begin is that you must have your wedge oriented perpendicular to your grain direction. So our grain is running this way in this chair, and I'm going to I'm going to drive these in so that the notch I made is perpendicular. And the reason for that is that if you had it running with the grain, once you pounded the wedge in, it would act just like a splitting wedge and want to split that right off. So be very mindful of that. More to go. Okay, so we're going to do 2 legs at once on one side, and we have our leg number 1 and 2, which correspond to here. I have the correct brace chosen, and I'm going to glue these onto these and then mount them on the leg. So here we go. Well, I thought I'd let you see me having my first sit down in my assembled chair. We still have a little ways to go with it. We have to grind off the ends of the tenons here. The finishing is going to have to wait till next summer. So what I do is I bring it inside, let the wood dry some more over the winter indoors. We can use it at the table until then, just being careful not to spill anything on it. I also have yet to fix a little bit of a wobble in it. I'm going to make one more video showing how to fix the wobble. You know, I want to do some side-to-side comparisons of this chair or the other two that I made. But for the most part, this chair is done. I filmed it from beginning to end. Actually, I didn't get on film the mounting of the comb onto the spokes. The camera shuts itself off after a certain amount of time, and I didn't get any footage of that, so I apologize for that. But I just want to thank everybody who's watched my movies and followed me through the long journey that is making a Windsor chair. I know some of you said that you might want to tackle one of your own, and boy, email me, let me see your work if you do. I'd be happy to see it. So, till I start the next project, thanks for coming along.